Lots of people say English is the language of business, but probably just as many, if not more, say the same thing about Mandarin or Cantonese. The truth is, business, even everyday business, is conducted in scores of different languages, and you have to be ready to respond no matter what. And our next guest makes that possible. Louis Provenzano Jr. is President and Chief Operating Officer of Language Line Services. He joins us now on Sky Radio. Louis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
We're delighted to have you. Tell me, you've established this thriving over-the-phone interpretation system. How did this business begin?
Well, actually, about 25 years ago, Language Line Services was founded by a San Jose police officer who was very frustrated on the ongoing problem of not being able to distinguish between the victim and the perpetrator when he was called to a crime scene involving limited English speakers. And Language Line Services business began as a service to help those healthcare providers and government first responders better meet the needs of their multilingual communities. And as our country in the United States has grown ever more diverse, more and more companies are coming to us because they realize that providing a multi-language channel is not only a convenience for customer, but a necessity for growing business in an increasingly diverse and global marketplace. We service over 176 languages, and if you take a look at the demographics in the country right now, every 19 seconds another immigrant comes into the U.S. So what started off as an entity for helping out the police, it's really become a global business.
Let me get you to step back. How many languages are you called on to interpret?
176. Spanish is our number one language, but we actually have 176 as of last week.
Give me a for instance here. Is there even a typical kind of call that you're called on to interpret?
We interpret for 911s, for insurance companies, for banks, for telecoms, for the government, for retail, for airlines, just about every single industry. As a matter of fact, almost 65-70% of the Fortune 500 use us one way or the other. So nothing is typical on any of our calls.
I imagine. Well, what is the effect that having a rapid, accurate language interpretation, what does that have on a company's business?
Well, I think that if you take a look at the fact that very often seconds really matter. So when you're talking about a healthcare or a 911 call, we have to be there in seconds. From the perspective of a company that offers consumer products and services, our research shows us that almost 4 times a greater likelihood of a consumer buying from that company if that company is speaking to them in their language. The research tells us at Language Line Services that a consumer, prospective consumer that is spoken to in their native language is going to go back to their community, and they're going to be much more loyal to that brand. Because if you think about it, if you're buying a cell phone and somebody approaches you in Mandarin, clearly that shows that that consumer is valued. The company took that time to speak in the language. They go back into the community and they say, go buy from this company because they care about us. They speak Mandarin.
Louis, thank you very much for joining us here on Sky Radio. Interesting business.
Thank you very much.
Louis Provenzano Jr. is President and Chief Operating Officer of Language Line Services. We reach him at the company's headquarters in Monterey, California. They're online at www.languageline.com.